Montgomery 1, we got three victims over here, all male, black, between the ages of 30 and 40.
3 men are in the hospital after a shooting. This happened around 3 this afternoon near 31st and St. Louis.
34, I'm going to need 2 more ambulances over here if we can get 457, please.
Oh God, a Prophet Muhammad is our living.
Man, this one hit deep. Chicago's in shock tonight, and the streets can feel the pain vibrating through every block. Lil Durk, sitting in that federal cell, just got news that shattered him. THF Bayzoo, one of his most loyal day ones, was gunned down in broad daylight on the west side. This wasn't no random drive-by. This was a hit that left the whole city speechless. According to reports flying all over social media, Zoo was at a junkyard just trying to pick up some car parts. Out of nowhere, a black sedan rolled up slow like it had a purpose. 2 masked men jumped out armed heavy and started letting rounds off.
1006 boy, what color on that?
The vehicle looks like it may be a Honda Accord, newer model, like 2020. And the both shooters jumped in the passenger, in the rear, one in the passenger, so there's possibly at least 3 heads in the car.
Witnesses say the shots rang out fast. It sounded like war. Chaos broke out instantly.
So we're going critical for him and good for the other, or critical for the first and the third, and then good for the second.
People ducking behind cars, screaming for cover. When the smoke cleared, Zoo was down, hit 3 times. 1 bullet tore through his chest from a 7.62 Draco. That type of weapon don't miss when it connects. Paramedics rushed him to the hospital in critical condition, but it was too late. Word started spreading within hours. His closest brothers, Duty Low, CEO, Big 30, and Pootie, all posted tributes confirming what no one wanted to believe. Zoo was gone. The heartbreak hit the whole OTF and THF camp like an earthquake. This loss goes way beyond music. This ain't a story about rap beef or internet drama. It's about real loyalty and brotherhood being ripped apart. Everything Durk worked to build, every bond, every street tie feels like it's falling apart while he's trapped behind bars, powerless to protect the ones who stood by him. But to understand the weight of this loss, you gotta know who THF Bayzoo really was. He wasn't some random affiliate. Zoo was the face, the muscle, and the mind behind THF 46, the set known as Trigger Happy Family. That crew runs the 46th and Drexel area in North Kenwood, one of the South Side's most respected yet dangerous zones. Zoo held it down with discipline and fearlessness. He demanded loyalty and gave it back twice as strong. Now with his name echoing through the city, murals already being planned, and tributes flooding every corner of social media, one thing's clear. Chicago lost another street legend, and Lil Durk just lost a brother he'll never be able to replace. We talking about something way deeper than just a crew. This was a hybrid operation, a whole movement. The Black Disciples and Mickey Cobras linked up under one banner, moving like a unified army. And at the center of it all was THF Bayzoo, calling every major shot. But what made Zoo stand out from the rest wasn't just how respected or feared he was, it was the duality in his story. See, Zoo had a violent past, no denying that. This man came from real chaos. He'd been tied to multiple bodies back in his younger years, and he even beat a murder case in court. That wasn't luck. That was survival. Zoo was built for the trenches, molded by the streets long before the fame or rap spotlight ever came around. And unlike some of these rappers acting tough for a camera, Zoo was the real deal. Everyone in Chicago knew it. His rep wasn't made online. It was earned block by block, decade after decade. THF had active smoke with some of the city's most notorious sets. 051 Young Money, STL/EBT, Jarrow City 757, and Brick Squad. Yet at the same time, they forged some of the strongest alliances in the game. O-Block, 600, and most importantly, OTF. That's where the brotherhood between Zoo and Lil Durk became solid. This wasn't no fake industry bond or clout move. This was loyalty built from surviving the same nights, sharing the same pain, and fighting through the same losses. But here's where Zoo's story turns powerful. In 2018, after getting out of jail, he completely changed direction. During a no-jumper interview, he revealed that he and King Von both converted to Islam that same year. They took their shahada together and started seriously practicing the faith. It wasn't for show. It was real transformation. For someone who had lived deep in that street cycle, embracing Islam was a massive step, a way to find peace in a life that had always been chaos. Zoo was genuinely working to be better, to shed that violent past that defined him. He still repped THF with pride, still stood firm when needed, but inside, he was a man seeking peace, growth, and redemption through his faith. Proof that even in the darkest worlds, change is possible. That's what makes this loss hit even harder. THF Bayzoo was finally walking a different path, trying to live righteous, finding peace through faith, and still, the streets took him away. It's like every time somebody tries to rise above the chaos, Chicago pulls them back into it. Zoo was changing his life for real, but his story ended before he could finish the transformation. And for Lil Durk, that pain cuts deep, because right now, he's trapped in a nightmare of his own. To understand how heavy this hit is for Durk, you gotta look at the storm he's facing. On October 24, 2024, federal agents arrested him at Miami International Airport while he was boarding a private jet to Italy. They hit him with a conspiracy to commit murder for hire charge, accusing him of orchestrating a hit on Quando Rondo, the same one that took the life of Rondo's cousin, Lil Pab, back in 2022. The case carries a potential life sentence, no parole, no easy way out. We talking about the same man who went from Inglewood to the Grammys, who was topping the charts and working with Drake and J. Cole, now possibly facing the rest of his life behind bars. But it didn't stop with him. That same day, 5 other OTF members were picked up in coordinated federal raids. The whole movement that once ran the industry from the streets is now staring down indictments that could end everything. The feds claim they've got it all. Bank transfers, flight manifests, hotel receipts, surveillance footage, even witness statements tying Durk to the logistics of the hit. If that narrative holds in court, OTF as an empire could be over, gone just like that, and it's getting worse. While Durk sits locked up fighting for his life, federal agents have frozen his accounts, seized his properties, and left his label deals hanging in limbo. Every dollar that kept OTF running, gone overnight. The empire he built from nothing, brick by brick, is crumbling right before his eyes. Now imagine being stuck in a cold cell, fighting charges that could bury you, when a guard slides you a letter saying, "Your brother in blood, THF Bayzoo, got gunned down in your city." That's not just pain. That's heartbreak layered on top of hopelessness. Imagine this. You're already sitting in a cold federal cell, staring at walls that might be your forever view, fighting charges that could end your freedom for life. And then, out of nowhere, you get word that one of your closest friends, one of your most loyal soldiers, just got taken out on the same streets y'all once fought to survive together. That kind of pain hits your soul. It breaks something inside you that might never heal. That's the level of heartbreak Lil Durk facing right now. It's the type of news that makes a man question everything, his choices, his loyalty, his entire purpose. Zoo wasn't just another homie, he was a part of Durk's foundation, a piece of his past that represented how far they came together from nothing. When the word spread that THF Bayzoo was gone, social media went into overdrive. But it wasn't just random fans dropping RIPS, it was the people who really knew him. The ones who'd shared the same pain, the same late nights, the same loyalty that built OTF from the ground up. Duty Low, Zoo's best friend and longtime OTF brother, dropped a tribute on Instagram that instantly went viral. For those who don't know, Duty and Zoo went back decades. Before fame, before rap, they were brothers from the mud surviving every trial side by side. His post wasn't for likes or headlines. You could feel the pain in every word, the kind of grief that comes when you lose family, not just a friend. Then came Big 30 and CEO, both showing love from Memphis. And that's what made it even more powerful. Big 30's connection to OTF and THF runs deep, and when he posted his tribute, it reminded everyone how far Zoo's influence reached. This wasn't just a Chicago tragedy, this was the entire Southern rap world pausing to mourn a real one. Zoo's death didn't just echo through the blocks, it shook the industry. From North Kenwood to Memphis, from O Block to Atlanta, everybody felt it. This wasn't just about losing a street legend, it was about losing a man who was finally finding peace, only for the streets to pull him back one last time.
Oh God, a Prophet Muhammad is our living.
Thank you. May God reward you. Please give them space. So step back a little bit. Let the workers do their job. Please. Thank you.
Everyone could feel the weight of this one. Big 30's tribute might have been short, but it carried power. Straight respect for a man who lived by loyalty and honor. No clout chasing, no fancy words, just a real one saluting another real one. Then you got Pooh Shiesty, who's still dealing with his own legal battles while sitting in a halfway house, taking the time to post about THF Bayzoo. That says everything about the kind of respect Zoo earned in this game. When you got rappers from different cities, different sets, and different legal struggles, all putting differences aside to show love, that's how you know Zoo's name carried real weight. He wasn't just another name in the streets. He was part of the culture's backbone, a symbol of loyalty and growth that everyone could relate to. But for Lil Durk, that respect makes it hurt even more, because while the world's celebrating Zoo's life, Durk's sitting in a federal cell, powerless. He can't go to the funeral, can't hug Duty Low, can't post a personal tribute, can't even drop a bag to make sure things get handled in his friend's honor. That's what's eating him alive right now. The pain of being caged while the world moves without him. That's a cruel kind of torture. Being locked up while your people die on the outside, knowing you can't protect them, can't stand with them, can't do nothing but replay memories in your head. It's that feeling of helplessness that breaks even the toughest men down. Durk's fighting demons daily, not just legal ones, but emotional ones too. Now let's talk about why Zoo was even back in Chicago and how it led to this tragic setup. Word from the street says it wasn't just casual. It was about survival. With Durk locked away, the money flow dried up fast. When Durk was free and stacking millions, he made sure his people were straight. That's what OTF stood for, only the family. Durk covered rent, cars, legal fees. He made sure his team was solid. But when that support system collapsed under the federal freeze, Zoo had to move differently. He was back in the field, grinding, making moves just to keep things afloat. And that's what put him in the line of fire once again. When Lil Durk was free and thriving, THF Bayzoo was living good under that safety net. He was one of Durk's day ones, protected by success, taken care of by loyalty. Zoo didn't have to hustle in the streets anymore. Durk's rise shielded him from that world. But once the feds swooped in and locked Durk up, everything collapsed in an instant. The money flow froze, accounts got seized, assets were taken, and the one man holding the whole empire together was suddenly gone. That meant everyone who'd been depending on Durk's generosity, the rent payments, the car notes, the legal fees, all the small things that kept people's lives stable, disappeared overnight. OTF's entire financial lifeline got cut off, leaving loyal soldiers stranded without a plan. According to sources close to the crew, that's when Zoo made the tough decision. He had to return to the streets. Not for clout, not for power, but for survival. Word in the trenches says Zoo started moving weed again, strictly to pay bills and stay afloat. No big operation, no wild comeback, just trying to make enough to keep life going while waiting for Durk's situation to clear up. Some outsiders might ask, why didn't he just get a regular job? But that question shows they don't understand how street reality really works. When you carry a name like THF Bayzoo, doors don't open for you, they slam shut. You can't just walk into an office with your record and your reputation and expect a fresh start. No company's risking that kind of spotlight. So Zoo went back to what he knew, relying on the only system that had ever paid him, the street economy. But that move came with deadly risk. When you leave the streets and later return, you're more vulnerable than ever. Your enemies don't forget your face. They just wait for the moment when your protection fades. They can sense when you're operating without your old security, without that OTF umbrella over your head. That's exactly what went down at that junkyard. Zoo was there grabbing car parts, maybe for business, maybe personal, with two people watching his back, but someone knew his location. Somebody had eyes on him waiting for that perfect moment. And when they struck, it was clear. This wasn't random. It was a setup from someone who knew exactly how far Zoo had fallen from his old shield. Somebody had been watching THF Bayzoo closely, waiting, plotting, and picking the perfect moment to strike. That's why this whole situation feels calculated, not random. Now everybody's asking the same burning questions. Why did this happen? Who set it up? And what was the real motive behind this brutal hit? The first theory floating around is that this was a drug deal gone bad. Since Zoo had returned to the streets to make ends meet, some think he was at that junkyard for business, maybe a routine exchange that turned deadly. Could have been a setup disguised as a transaction. Maybe it started as a disagreement over money or product, and somebody came with bad intentions from the jump. Chicago's full of stories where small street deals end in tragedy, so at first glance, that theory makes sense. But here's where things don't add up. The firepower. A Draco firing 7.62 rounds isn't the kind of weapon someone pulls for a quick robbery. That's a war gun, meant to make a statement. If this was about snatching cash or product, pistols would have done the job. Using that kind of hardware shows this wasn't about money, it was personal. This hit was planned, deliberate, and driven by something deeper than a deal gone wrong. That leads to the second theory, and it's the one catching the most traction in the drill community right now: retaliation. Word around the city is that this could have been payback for the death of DMG Lil Scum. Just last month, Lil Scum, a rising rapper in Chicago's underground scene, was shot and killed. He had clout, respect, and a growing fan base. After his murder, people from his circle wasted no time pointing fingers at THF members, dropping subliminals in songs and posting cryptic messages online. The talk in the trenches started heating up quick, and most of that heat focused directly on THF 46. Now, nobody can confirm if THF really had anything to do with Lil Scum's death, but in Chicago, street politics, perception becomes reality. So the theory goes that Lil Scum's crew had been plotting ever since September, quietly watching THF movements, waiting for a weak moment. And when they learned Bayzoo was back in Chicago, moving without heavy security, they saw their shot, and they took it. Once THF Bayzoo's enemies realized he was moving around without the full OTF protection behind him, they made their move. This wasn't some random shootout. It was a planned execution, a cold message sent straight to THF 46. That's why the shooters pulled up with a Draco, not a handgun. They weren't trying to scare him. They came to finish the job. 3 clean hits, each one meant to make sure there'd be no second chances. The timing tells it all. Barely a month after DMG Lil Scum was murdered, and the tension in the city was already boiling over. So if this theory holds true, then Zoo didn't die over something he did personally. He died because of what he represented. He was the face of THF, a symbol of power and influence, and taking him out was a way to shake the entire organization. That's the cruel cycle of Chicago street politics. Sometimes you pay the price for the reputation you built, even if you weren't the one pulling strings in that particular war. Zoo's death wasn't about robbery or revenge over money. It was about sending a message. No one is untouchable. Now imagine being Lil Durk, sitting in a federal holding cell, hearing this news from behind bars. One of your closest friends, gone, while you're chained to a bunk with no control, no say, no movement. The emotional toll on him right now has to be devastating. He's dealing with overwhelming guilt, replaying every decision that led to this. Even though he didn't pull a trigger, even though he's locked up and disconnected from the streets, in his mind, it's still his fault. Because he knows, if he hadn't gotten arrested, if OTF's money pipeline was still alive, Zoo wouldn't have had to risk his life going back to the streets. He wouldn't have been out there hustling at that junkyard vulnerable without proper protection. In Durk's head, it's all connected. His arrest, the frozen accounts, the fall of OTF's structure, and now the loss of his brother. That kind of guilt eats you from the inside, especially when you're trapped in a cage, forced to relive every single what if with no way to change a thing. That kind of guilt eats a man alive. It's the type of pain that doesn't just sting, it crushes you from the inside out. That constant self-blame can completely shatter a person's spirit. And for Lil Durk, it's not just guilt, it's the unbearable isolation that makes everything worse. He can't mourn properly, can't even stand over his brother's casket to say goodbye. He can't hold Duty Low or the rest of THF and grieve together like family should. He can't post a tribute, can't speak to fans, can't even show the world how much this loss destroyed him. The same streets that built him are mourning one of his closest friends, and Durk can only sit alone in that cold cell, trapped with nothing but his memories. He's probably lying awake every night replaying the moments they shared. The studio sessions, the long drives, the laughs, the dreams they talked about for years. Now all those future plans are gone forever, replaced by a silence that won't go away. That's the kind of heartbreak that no amount of fame, money, or success can ever fix. And then comes the harshest part, realizing just how much he's lost. It's not just THF Bayzoo, it's King Von gone back in 2020. It's countless other homies who didn't make it. It's his freedom, his empire, his peace of mind, everything he fought for from the bottom. Durk's watching his entire foundation crumble piece by piece, but the pain doesn't stop there. Now he's seeing people he once called brothers start to switch up, quietly distancing themselves now that the feds are involved. That's the dark truth nobody wants to admit. When you're on top, loyalty's loud. Everyone wants to stand next to you, post pictures, and shout your name for clout. But when the heat comes, when the feds start digging into bank records, wiretaps, and affiliations, those same people go ghost real quick. Rappers who used to proudly claim OTF have fallen silent, scrubbing posts, acting like they barely knew him. They don't want that federal smoke touching their careers. So now Durk sits in that cell not just grieving a brother, but realizing how fast loyalty fades when your name's tied to a federal case. So now Lil Durk sits in that cold cell, facing the harshest truth of all, realizing who was really loyal and who was just there for the shine. The ones who were fake, who benefited from his success, vanished the second things got dark. But the ones who were authentically loyal, like THF Bayzoo, are the ones dying in the streets. And Durk can't do a thing to protect them anymore. But let's zoom out, because this is bigger than just one tragedy. What's playing out right now is the same cycle that's been haunting Chicago for decades. A loop of violence, loyalty, and survival that keeps claiming lives no matter how much success or money comes into the picture. Durk built OTF on loyalty. It stood for only the family. That was supposed to mean brotherhood, protection, unity. When Durk was on top, with millions rolling in and major deals dropping left and right, he used that power to keep his people safe. He was creating jobs, paying bills, funding dreams, giving his crew a reason to stay away from the streets. But the second he got locked up and the feds froze everything, the whole system fell apart. Without the money, everyone who once had security was thrown back into survival mode. And in Chicago, survival mode means the streets. It means taking risks you swore you'd left behind, running plays you thought you'd never touch again, just to make it through another week.
That's exactly what happened to Zoo. He didn't die chasing clout or drama. He died trying to survive. After converting to Islam, he was on a genuine mission to change his life, to leave that chaos behind. But the world around him didn't give him a fair shot. When the bills stack up, when the light's about to get cut off, and when no legit job will hire you because of your past, the options disappear real fast.
That's the cruel trap of the streets. You can try to walk away, but the streets never really let you go. Even when you're evolving, they're still watching, waiting, and ready to pull you back the second your guard drops. Even when you make it out, even when you touch success, the second that success fades, the streets pull you right back in. And coming back is way more dangerous than never leaving at all. Because now you've got a name, a reputation, and enemies who've been waiting for the smallest crack to appear. For Lil Durk, this is his worst nightmare coming to life. He's sitting in a federal cell, fighting for his life in court, knowing there's a real chance he may never breathe free air again. And while he's trapped, his day one brothers are being gunned down in the same neighborhoods he spent his whole career trying to save them from. That's the type of pain that breaks a man in ways no sentence ever could. Let's keep it real about this thing called loyalty in the streets. THF Bayzoo's loyalty to Durk and OTF was beyond question. When everyone else went quiet after those murder-for-hire charges dropped, Zoo stood tall. He still repped OTF publicly, posted free Durk when it wasn't safe to do so, and kept the flag flying even when the heat was on heavy. But what did that loyalty get him? It got him killed in a junkyard, left to bleed out while his brother sat behind bars, powerless to help. Durk couldn't protect him because the system had already taken away every tool he had. The money, the access, the reach. The empire that was supposed to be untouchable, built on love, loyalty, and survival, crumbled overnight. So what's loyalty really worth when the system can dismantle everything in a single day? The streets preach that loyalty is everything, that real recognize real, but they never tell you the full truth. Sometimes loyalty just means your mama's planning your funeral before you hit 35. For Durk, losing Zoo is another scar that'll never fade, a painful reminder of everything that's already been taken from him. King Von gone in 2020, Zoo gone now, his freedom hanging by a thread. And through it all, one truth keeps echoing. In the life they came from, loyalty and loss walk hand in hand, and both come with a price that never stops collecting. It's like every year Lil Durk loses another piece of himself. His blood brother murdered in 2021, other homies taken out one by one, and now THF Bayzoo gone too. His freedom's hanging by a thread, his empire's in shambles, and the people he built everything with are dying while he sits in that cold cell, completely powerless to protect them. That kind of reality would crush anybody's soul. Now, the question floating through Chicago is the same one everyone's scared to say out loud. Will THF retaliate? Will this spark another round of bloodshed in a city already drowning in it? Because if history's any guide, we already know how this plays out. There's always revenge, always another round. And that's the heartbreaking part. This cycle just keeps repeating. Every time one side loses somebody, the other side responds, and before long, it's another funeral, another family shattered, another life gone over pride and loyalty that the world will forget about in a week. The city keeps spinning in this loop of grief and revenge, and the bodies just keep stacking up. For Durk, it's the cruelest pain imaginable, watching the people he loves die in wars he can't stop anymore. He wanted OTF to stand for something bigger, only the family was supposed to mean loyalty, unity, growth beyond the streets. But now, all he sees is how fragile it really was when the system came crashing down. So yeah, THF might retaliate, maybe tomorrow, maybe next month, but the real question isn't if they will. The real question is, when does it stop? When do the people trapped in this endless street cycle finally decide that loyalty to the block ain't worth dying for? When do they realize that real loyalty means living long enough to break the pattern? Because as long as the streets keep writing the same story, the ending never changes. More blood, more loss, more brothers gone before 35. And this time, even from behind bars, Durk knows that truth better than anyone. And that's the truth nobody wants to face. This story ain't just about THF Bayzoo or even Lil Durk. It's about an entire generation caught between loyalty and survival, between trying to rise up and getting dragged right back down. Zoo's death wasn't random. It was the sound of a city crying out, showing us what happens when loyalty becomes a curse instead of a code. Durk's sitting in that federal cell right now, staring at the ceiling, realizing that everything he built, the music, the fame, the brotherhood, can vanish in one heartbeat. He's watching the cost of this life play out in real time. Every loss, every name etched on a mural, every phone call that starts with, "They got him." It's a reminder that in this world, success doesn't buy peace. It only raises the price of staying alive. And that's what makes this whole saga tragic. Zoo tried to change. He tried to evolve, to find faith, to walk away. But in Chicago, sometimes even redemption comes too late. His story proves one brutal truth. The streets never retire, they just wait for your comeback. So the question now isn't who's next to go, it's who's next to wake up. When will this cycle end? When will the culture start valuing life over street reputation? Because if nothing changes, this won't stop with Zoo. It'll keep spreading until there's nobody left to mourn. Lil Durk's pain is more than a headline, it's a warning. The same loyalty that built him is the same loyalty breaking him piece by piece. And for everyone still out there living that life, Zoo's story should hit hard, because this is what happens when loyalty meets the grave. Rest in power to THF Bayzoo, gone too soon but never forgotten. And if you made it this far, drop your thoughts below. Do you think this war ever truly ends? Or is the cycle too deep to break? Tap in, share your take, and keep it locked right here on BarzBuzz, where we bring you the raw truth behind every story shaking the culture. If this saga had you shook, wait till you see what's next. You already know what it is. BarzBuzz got the real, raw, and unfiltered breakdowns. So don't forget to like, subscribe, drop a comment, and share this with someone who needs to catch up.